All right, boys and girls, welcome back. Sam's Army episode 2.218. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with U.S. men's national team, Jamaica game, and the atmosphere surrounding the game and the team and the fan base. We'll get into that a little bit. Weekly what if, Saudi Arabia. Headlines, Club World Cup and UEFA bean counters, and then round the world with U.S. women's national team roster and Sergio Busquets. Now it's time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties, and we got to start with Tweedle number one, Mr. Mitchell Goulet, aka Overtime Mitch, because number one, he's the classiest dressed at the moment on the podcast, which you would have to subscribe to YouTube to figure that one out. But also because we got a critically important question submitted by Sam Korf on Instagram, who wants to know, or better yet, needs to know, how many bomb pops you can fit in your mouth at once.
Wow. You got to pay for Sam's Army Premium to know that answer. Four?
Four? Okay.
Generously? Four.
I feel like you got five in you. I can see five.
We can try it sometime, but why was that submitted to you and not me?
I have no.
You really want to know? Ask me.
Idea. Right. I have no idea, but number one, I love that he submitted it, and number two, it sort of like jogged my mind. Like, listen, if you guys want, listeners, if you guys want to really dig in deep on the beauties here and the Tweedles on these intro questions, you're welcome to send along suggestions, and I'll pose them to them moving forward.
Was I singled out, or was he?
You were. It was you. Oh, it was Mitch.
That's concerning. Okay, cool.
So shout out to Sam Core for that one. Next up, we got Tweedle number two, Mr. Tommy McGunner, who is back on the grid, literally after getting traded to Tulsa FC and immediately getting the Wizard of Oz treatment with a massive tornado that ripped through not Kansas but Oklahoma. It's kind of close, and apparently it basically ruined the electric grid throughout the city for God knows how long. So, give us your experience as a Tulsa FC player at this point and a newfound Tulsa resident.
It's FC Tulsa to be.
Yeah, FC Tulsa. All right, my bad. FC Tulsa.
But yeah, I've gotten the kind of full Tulsa treatment. They have like my first weekend there. They have like a huge bike race around the city that I went to go check out, and severely underestimated Tulsa's ability to come out in the city. So that was actually really cool. And I like cycling. So anyone that is looking for the time to fill in between end of this season and next season, tune into the Tour de France. And then, last weekend, I think now, power just went off after I think 100 plus mile per hour winds. I don't know if it was a full tornado because I was in a tornado shelter, and then lost power for 90 to 95 degree heat for a few days. So that was really fun. I will say that it was supposed to be out until last night, and it came back 4 or 5 days earlier than anticipated. So there's a blessing in all that.
Blessing and all that. That sounds to me like set expectations extremely low for when they're going to get it back up. I mean, like the fact it took.
Yeah, I mean, I could have. Imagine if like I just got it back last night, I would come into this podcast probably like 15 pounds underweight and a lot more pissed off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no way you'd be on this podcast right now. You'd be too pissed off.
No chance.
All right, finally rounding out our Tweedle triumvirate of D, Dumb, and Dumber, and not necessarily in that order. Mikey, calm down. We got Mikey Fowler back back with us, and your question, Mikey, is: I need to know more about your post-traumatic distress syndrome with as it relates to the Hartford train station. What's going on?
Oh man. Anybody from Massachusetts or Western Massachusetts understands that when you're taking the Greyhound and you got that layover at that Hartford Union Station and you're sitting in that tiny little place, many a throw-ups I've had in that bathroom, many an awful experience, St. Patrick's Days and Blarney's, and it brings the worst thoughts and memories and emotions back whenever I see that dumb station. So yeah, the Hartford Union Station is where dreams go to die.
Apparently so, because Mitch is shaking his, nodding
Yeah.
his
Oh,
head
it's
down
awful.
there too.
Yeah. I used to take the train there, the Greyhound that he's talking about, from Westfield, and it would stop at Hartford. And the vibes in that building are not dead, but something far more paranormal. It's everybody that works there is kind of like an apparition that shows up at 9 o'clock and leaves at 5, but everything there is really, really bleak.
Spooky.
Check it out sometime. Probably not. Probably not. After
I don't recommend it.
after the reviews you guys are giving.
Do not recommend. I got to take you off my close friends.
I'm sure there's a lot of listeners from the Northeast right now. They're probably sitting there just like Mitch was, be like, "Yep, yep, I know exactly what
It's
he's
gross.
talking about." All right, without further ado, let's get to the good stuff. And by the good stuff, I mean the good, the bad, the ugly, the frustrating, the disappointing, and the maddeningly annoying. With the U.S. men's national team at the moment. And that's not just on the field. We're going to start on the field. I got plenty of thoughts about what's going on off the field at the moment, with social media and that sort of stuff. But we're going to hold off on that for now. We're going to start with the game itself. And so, quick reminder: this is the Gold Cup, right? So we have what I think objectively you would call a weakened squad from the A team that was out there for the Nations League. And we got a lot of questions and comments on this from people, on Instagram when I asked for questions. And just quickly, the reason for this, and the people who were asking, let's see, I had them written down: Lucas Edwards, Wesley Roberts, Dave Polios. The reason that we have a weekend, quote unquote, weekend squad for this is because, that A team has been playing soccer for basically 11 months straight now. And that includes like an unprecedented mid-season World Cup. Like, these guys deserve and need, frankly, physically, a break from soccer. Like, we need to let them go, get off the grid, Tommy McCabe style, and just enjoy their life a little bit as 20 somethings, because they've been playing soccer and high pressure soccer for a long, long time. So that's basically the biggest reason. Also, this is a very good opportunity to give guys who are trying to get in that A team roster a look at the national team and see what they got. We'll get into names in a minute, but this is a great opportunity for that. So that's the explanation for why we have a quote unquote weakened squad for the Gold Cup. And by the way, it makes sense sort of just in the time frame, because Nations League was immediately after the European season, so those guys that were coming off that season played that, and now they can go off and do whatever it is they want to do, hang out with Mitch in Miami, do whatever. Whereas the Gold Cup, first of all, it lasts a lot longer than Nations League. And, it would basically go right up until these guys preseason, when they got to be back in Europe and hitting the ground running. So it just makes a lot of sense to give these guys a break. And I really, really, really wish we could have some sort of billboard, everywhere, billboards everywhere, like a caveat when U.S. men's national team posts the roster and posts this starting 11, because every single time they do it, the comments are just like, "Where's Pulisic? Where's Reyna?" It's like, guys, please focus, learn a little bit, just follow a little bit. Anyway, now let's go to Gold Cup. So our first group stage game was against Jamaica, who is easily the toughest team in our group. That ended up being so Nicaragua got booted in pure CONCACAF style because they played an ineligible player for several years. So they're out of the tournament. They got replaced by St. Kitts and Nevis, I believe, or Trinidad and Tobago. One of those teams replaced them. But those are the other two teams in our group. That makes Jamaica by far the most difficult team apart from us in our group for Gold Cup. And of course, we started the tournament off against them on Saturday night, 9 p.m. local time, which, by the way, is borderline ridiculous. I assume it's a TV thing. We don't need to get into it, but again, that was stupid. I know a lot of people asked about that. Andrew David was among them. So let's get to the actual game. Now, the lineup. There were a lot of questions about this from listeners. Most people sort of with complaints about who we played and everything like that. Some of them were legitimate, like, why was it Jordi Mihailovic out there? Or why wasn't Cade Cowell out there from the beginning? Those kind of questions, totally understandable. The people who are asking about, why wasn't McKennie out there? Why wasn't Eunice Moose out there? Guys, just back up like 30 seconds and listen to that again, because we need to get that through our heads. So anyway, now thoughts on the 11. Anybody want to raise their hand and give some, some critiques on BJ Callaghan's starting lineup for this game?
What do you think he was going to do? Was there any surprise? I really didn't know what to expect coming in as a United States non-understander of what the second team looks like.
Sure. My thoughts were I wasn't surprised by much. Matt Turner, first of all, he's been saying all along that he just wants to get games, and he's now playing Nations League and Gold Cup. So shout out to him for that. But besides that, these were all going to be guys that are MLSers for the most part. There's a few guys like Georgi Mihailovic who's, playing in Europe right now. I was disappointed not to see Mihailovic. I thought that he's basically earned that spot in the starting 11. And then now this is Monday morning quarterbacking, what happened in the game. But Aiden Morris and James Sands didn't give us enough going forward at all. So it just would have made a lot more sense to either have Mihailovic there at the beginning, or when we were creating absolutely nothing in the middle, it would have been nice to get him in sooner than we did. Again, this is being Monday morning quarterbacking. Aiden Morris, by the way, I'm really excited about him and what he's bringing to the table, and long term what we're going to get from him. I thought he had a bad game. He was not at top form. I thought James Sand was he's great at what he does. He breaks up play, and he's a solid 6. I would like to see Mihailovic in there. The other big question for me, other than Yedlin, we don't, he's DeAndre Yedlin. You know what you're getting.
You need some veteran leadership out there. You can't have all young guys.
For sure.
So I get it. I don't think he played to his ability or what we've seen his ability to be. I think he's on the back 9 of his career, but I still think he adds value out in that 11.
I mean, I understand the experience part, but the thing is that we had a lot of experience out there, right? We had Aaron Long, we had Jordan Morris, we had Yedlin, Matt Miazga. We had a lot of guys that are not, sort of on the up and coming, right? So I thought we may have had a little bit too much experience to try and put it, give BJ Callaghan a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I would have liked to see Brandon Vasquez up top. I mean, I know that we keep. Greg specifically seems to have a thing for Ferreira as a 9. For me, I'm just not sold on him as an actual 9. He seems more of more a playmaker and he created a lot of the chances that we had in this game. So it's not like Ferreira had a bad game, but what he was being asked to do feels like it was right up Brandon Vasquez's skill set, which is to be a big, strong dude, control the ball, hold it up, find guys. It just seems like this was a game tailor-made for Brandon Vasquez's skill set. And he didn't get on until, I don't know what it was, 65, 70th minute, something like that, maybe even later.
Like 80th.
So, this is the two that I had issues with were I wanted to see Mihailovic in the middle. I want to see Vasquez up top. There's a lot of other nitpicking you could have with the roster, and obviously looking back in retrospect, there were guys that didn't play well, right? Jordan Morris didn't have a very good game. Senora didn't have a very good game. Aiden Morris didn't have a good game. Yedlin did not have a good game. There's probably more out there, but that's just what comes to mind when you sort of ask me what my thoughts on the 11 were. And it's hard to then not use hindsight and sort of, say who you would have rather had out there based on bad performances. But that's what I think. I don't know. Tommy, you got any thoughts there?
Well, I was off the grid for this one.
Oh,
yeah. I think those are the two guys that, without excluding anyone from the 11, which obviously, because I didn't watch the game, I can't really have a take on that, but I really like Mihailovic and Vasquez, and they're two of my boys, so I'm slightly biased on that. But yeah, I would love to have seen those guys, and I think they both kind of deserve more minutes in this. One, because Mihailovic has just come off a European season, so I feel like if you're going to bring this guy, and you like him, you value him, he's got to have an important role. And then Vasquez, I think, he's probably been one of the leading scorers in MLS in the last 18 months at the 9 position. And I think you see in the Nations League how the US looks when they have a proper 9, and how that affects everyone else on the field positively. And I think he could similarly do that.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I didn't actually know that. I should have put 2 and 2 together with Vasquez being your boy. I didn't know Mihailovic was your boy as well, but those two, just for me, absolutely sort of belong in the 11. And I would have said that before the game, and now after the game, based on their performances, like they absolutely have to be in the 11 moving forward. I don't know, Mitch, any follow-ups from you on that?
It's hard to go from an exciting and damn near flawless Nations League campaign to now watching this, which is the same, team. It's the same federation, but an entirely different side. So take all of the poor performances with a bit of a grain of salt and know that we were really spoiled with 2 unbelievable games against Mexico and Canada. And now we are kind of on the other end of that seesaw, but it'll balance out after a little while.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's sort of like, it stinks from like hardcore fans. We sort of know exactly what we were expecting from like the Gold Cup team and the Nations League team, but then like casuals, I hate using that term because it kind of sounds like it's, I'm talking down to them, but like, people who
casuals are offended by the term casuals.
Yeah, probably not. There's no casuals listening to this, so I think we're okay. But the fact that they'll come in, they'll tune into this Fox broadcast and be like, wait, where's the guys I've actually heard of? Wait, we just sort of looked not great against Jamaica. We barely sort of scrounged a draw, at least on the scoreboard. And what's going on here? And then to add on to that, by the way, John Strong, I don't know if he was getting fed these lines or what, but like his commentating during the game and sort of like saying, wow, the kings of CONCACAF, couldn't beat Jamaica or whatever. Like, bro, you're not a casual. You know what's going on here. Like, why don't you put a little context to what's going on and sort of explain that, oh, by the way, this is a essentially a B team. I don't know if you want to use that terminology. Maybe that's a little sort of pejorative or whatever, but like, this is not the Pulisic's and the Reynas and the McKennies and the Mooses and blah blah blah. And there's a reason for that. Like I tried to do, I'm sure he could do it in a much more succinct, fast way and provide casual fans with the context of it, because I do think there's a lot of people turning into that game expecting to see Pulisic, not seeing Pulisic, also not seeing us play very well, or at least not play a very attractive brand of soccer, and they'll sort of be turned off to watching, US soccer, which stinks if that's actually the case. Things will bounce back, right? We're going to play St. Kitts and Nevis or whatever on, what is it, Wednesday, and then the final Trinidad and Tobago on, I think, Saturday or Sunday. And so yeah, St. Kitts and Nevis on Wednesday, Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday. And chances are we'll blow both those teams out, and everybody's going to be happy, and everybody's going to think, Brandon Vasquez and Jesus Ferreira are the second comings of, Balogun. But, that's just how it works with these types of things. So, by the way, I forgot one other critique I had of the starting 11. And so when I mentioned, DeAndre Yedlin, I really would have liked to see Brian Reynolds out there instead of him. So that was my other qualm with the 11, and hopefully, I didn't think Yedlin played that well, and I think Reynolds probably deserves to start in the next game. And again, it's sort of not fair, right? Jamaica is a team that comes into this with a bunch of Premier League quality players, like Mikel Antonio was out there, Damari Gray, just to name a couple. Like they had some top talent out there that we didn't even have, right? And so the fact we came away with a 1-1 draw is nothing to be that ashamed of from that game. But now we're going to play St. Kitts and Nevis and Trinidad and Tobago. And so, like, again, expectations have to come, follow that. Because if we do anything other than win like 3-4 or 5-0, especially against St. Kitts and Nevis, like that would not be good. That would be more disappointing, a lot more disappointing than a 1-1 draw with a very strong Jamaica team. All right. So takeaways for me were that, I don't think Callaghan played our best 11. I didn't think we played that bad. We had some chances. I thought Senora missed an absolute sitter. Jordan Morris missed a pretty decent, basically one-on-one with the keeper. And if they make those are both in the first half and early on, I think. If they make those, the game looks completely different. So, let's keep that in mind. Obviously, Turner played well. He sought the penalty, which is becoming a thing with him. And so shout out to him. But good job to Mihailovic and Vasquez coming off the bench. Cade Cowell was another guy that came off the bench and added a spark. I mean, he was kind of sloppy. A few sort of, he just dribbled out of bounds a couple times, which was like, let's clean that up a little bit. But he was always running at guys, and he was always sort of trying to make things happen, which is something that this team specifically, without the Reynas and without the Pulisic's, we need some of that. We need a little bit of that, Clint Dempsey, I want to run at somebody mentality. So yeah, anything else that you guys want to add about this Jamaica game?
I think the biggest thing that I took away is seeing which guys looked like they wanted to be out there and were putting in that effort that you were talking about. When we lost the ball, when we equalized, then there were 7 minutes of extra time and we'd lose the ball, or it was that really hectic back and forth late in the game. There were guys that dropped heads. There were guys that, and this was throughout the game as well, but I noticed it in particular in that last 10 minutes of the game. There were guys that were dropping heads, maybe not tracking back and giving us the best chance. That could have been a 2-1 game, one way or the other. And it is all reflected in the off the ball effort. When you have your Weston McKennies, your Tyler Adams out there that are so fierce when winning back the ball and will do so at all costs, that makes everybody else's job ahead of them a hell of a lot easier. But with a team like this, where everybody kind of needs to defend and everybody needs to attack, and your strength is in your numbers and organization, I didn't see much of it. You saw flashes of it throughout the game, but not a ton. So it was good to see a handful of guys really putting in that extra 110% and trying to provide a spark off the bench.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the game. I think it's a game where, small margins matter a lot, and we could have scored some pretty, decent chances. We didn't. So we had to scrounge a draw, and, shit happens at the end of the day. I don't think it's a terrible result. It's certainly not a catastrophic result, because now we play St. Kitts and Nevis and Trinidad and Tobago, and, we should win both those games, especially on home soil. So, we are where we are now. I think Jamaica is going to be kind of a force, in CONCACAF. Not quite on the level of US and Mexico, but and maybe not even Canada, but they are, if they keep getting these guys from EPL and stuff and from England to switch their nationality or whatever, they are going to continue to be a real force to be reckoned with. So I really don't think a draw in this game was a bad result. Now quickly, I saw so much responses to the game and criticism on Twitter, and I know Twitter is always sort of a cesspool of negativity and toxicity and everything. It just feels like it's taken it to the next level recently. We probably could have predicted this when the Greg Berhalter news came out, and the fact he's coming back, and we had sort of the haters had this light at the end of the tunnel thought, where, okay, well, you know what, Berhalter, he's going to be gone soon, and we're going to have fill in the blank, Jose Mourinho or fucking Pep Guardiola or whoever that is that they had on their pedestal of coaches. That's who we're going to have. Now we got Berhalter back. And it just seems like some people have lost their fucking minds, on Twitter. It's crazy how many accounts I'm seeing with, USMNT, whatever in it with an American flag. And so you would think that they're an American soccer fan, right? And then you look at their tweets, and it's nothing, literally nothing, but just hate and negativity, and this person sucks and that person sucks, and it's all because of Berhalter, and it's all because there's no pro rel, and it's all because MLS is terrible. And it's like I'm a positive person. And I try and find, like, the silver lining in everything. And I can find the silver lining in this and say, you know what, this is just sort of the natural evolution of American soccer fanhood, right? And more people care. And, so you're going to be bound to get more criticism and all that. And I do think that's true. But man, this week was tough on Twitter. I've like already taken a couple steps back from Twitter, and like I just don't tweet anymore. I don't want to engage with just the people who are just so negative all the time. Like there is a time and a place for criticism, and perhaps there's some legitimate criticism to be had from this Jamaica lineup and in the way people played. But just like some of the accounts where it was nothing but hate, it's just like, and that is somehow, I don't know if it's human nature or the Twitter algorithm now, but like that's what gets the most traction. So it's just the platform for me is really is, I don't want to say it's jumped the shark, but like I don't know. I'm having a hard time sort of dealing with Twitter these days. And just a couple things on that. So I saw so much hate, and it just felt like reflexive criticism for guys like Aaron Long, James Sands. I'm probably forgetting somebody. If you played in MLS, you were probably getting like almost nothing but hate. Aaron Long did not play bad in that game. Like, I understand the criticism of, well, so he's headed towards 30. He's like going to be up there in age when we get to the World Cup. That criticism, that I understand. And I can see where you're coming from in that, but just to like say he had a shitty game, like just because you don't like him or whatever, is just it that blows my mind. Yeah, Jordan Morris didn't have a great game. So if you want to give him shit, fine. But like, also these guys, the guys I'm talking about right there, Aaron Long, Jordan Morris, Christian Roldan, that was another one who got nothing but shit on Twitter, and he actually played fine in this game. And I'm somebody who's given Christian Roldan a fair amount of criticism when he's played for the national team in years past, because I watch him play for the Sounders, and he's making things happen. He's doing things everywhere. He's just part of it. And then he gets the national team and just doesn't seem to be quite at that level. Roldan played well. He was making things happen. Jesus Ferreira made things happen. He created the two best chances we had in the first half with some nice passing. So just the amount of hate and the amount of anti-MLS reflexive hate, like, keep in mind these guys, the Aaron Longs, Jordan Morris, Jesus Ferreira, if you ever played soccer and you got out there and just sort of saw these guys play, if you played with them, they would be the best player that you've ever seen. Like, that's just sort of like the nature of the beast, right? So when everybody talks about how shitty they are and how just they're awful, terrible soccer players, they can't connect passes, I chill out. They're pretty fucking good. Like, yeah, we expect, like, we got like, just the Brazil type B team, or Italy's B team, France, whatever, Belgium. We don't. Okay, we're not there yet. We're building. We'll get there eventually. But like, just chill out with the hate a little bit, I guess, is the long story short. And I know that nobody's going to listen to me on that. I know that's an absolute fact, but I've just, the last week, it's been bad. Like, I normally tell people just log off Twitter, and that's what I've been doing. I fuck it, I'm out. I don't even want to engage with you guys. Okay, I feel like that wasn't nearly as angry a rant as I initially envisioned.
No, but you don't want the anger. You want to counter the anger with positivity. You're saying these guys are good, and they are.
Yeah,
I have a handful of reasons for why you feel that there's been such a negative energy around U.S. men's national team Twitter. One, there's no other football on, so people are just concentrated around this Gold Cup that people are struggling to put meaning towards. Two, you're right. Again, with the human nature and Twitter algorithm, the Twitter algorithm is going to show you more negative interactions, because tweets that garner negative interactions garner more interactions, and that's just how Elon Musk has built that app now.
Thanks, Elon.
So you're right there. And three, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword of, we want to legitimize ourselves as a soccer country, and that, as we've seen around the world, needs criticism, or that's what most fan bases view as hardcore soccer fandom, is critiquing your team's decisions, starting lineups, players, coaches, whoever it may be. And I don't know, criticism and negative emotions are a hell of a lot easier to express than positive ones or neutral ones. So I kind of share your sentiment. Everybody chill the fuck out.
Yeah, I think it's fair. It's just tiring, and even me sort of saying what I've said over the last, whatever, 10, 15 minutes, like there'll be people, like, if anybody listens to this and they have that USMNT versus the world with a American flag next to it, like I'll just be painted as an MLS bootlicker or like a Berhalter apologist, just because I'm trying to like add some realism to the situation rather than just reflexive hate, which is too bad. It's too bad, but whatever. It is what it is. That's human nature. Tommy's just like, yeah, you're just a dumbass right now. You're speaking to preaching to the choir. Nobody's listening to you. I know, Tommy. All right. Let's go onwards and upwards, hopefully. So that was my my rant about how the Gold Cup has basically, it's no longer a soccer tournament, especially now that like Confederations Cup isn't a thing anymore. And so what exactly are we playing for in the Gold Cup, especially coming off Nations League where we just won it? That's true. Like, what are we playing for? That's why, to a certain extent, I think people use the Gold Cup as like a blank template, a blank slate that they can just project their pet agenda, whether it be for pro-rel, anti-MLS, Berhalter out, whatever. It's just like they use this as like their little I don't know, the whatever, to talk shit about whatever it is they want to talk shit about, and they don't watch the soccer. They don't care about the soccer, it seems like. Okay, I'm done. This time I'm really done. We'll move on. So now we got, as I said, St. Kitts and Nevis on Wednesday, Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday. There is no question that we need to win those games and win those games big. I mean, there's no sort of ramifications if we don't. BJ Callaghan is no longer the coach at the end of the Gold Cup, but we have to win those games first and foremost, and move on in the Gold Cup, and we'll sort of see where things go from there. Quickly though, I don't know if you saw this, Mikey, but did you see the tweet, or maybe it was multiple tweets about how allegedly, reportedly, BJ Callaghan had 111 and Greg Berhalter like nixed it and changed it at the last minute? Did you see that the tweets back and forth about that?
No, but I actually don't understand why BJ Callaghan would have his own 11 anyways.
I don't know why he's coaching. Yeah, I've talked about that before. Like, I don't know why he's coaching when Greg Berhalter is the coach. I do not understand that. But the fact that
he can still be there, there's no problem with coaching. It's like there should be some synergy here.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they talk. I would have a hard time believing that, like, at the 11th hour, Berhalter came in, saw BJ Callaghan's 11, and was like, nah, we got to change that, and that. And it was just really funny because I think it came out at halftime or maybe after the game, and somebody was saying that Univision had confirmed it when Univision had not confirmed it. Nobody confirmed it. This is like a Twitter rumor that went round and round and round. And of course, like, the three guys, in retrospect, should have started. Like, it was Brandon Vasquez, Georgi Mihailovic, and I think Cade Cowell. Maybe I might be getting that wrong, but from my vantage point, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a better 11. But at the same time, it's like this is just an example of how people have this hate boner for Berhalter, and they'll just find a way to inject their agenda and their hatred for Berhalter into the situation that probably he had nothing to do with. It's just an example I saw. And of course, these tweets, they rack up hundreds of retweets and thousands of likes, and the person who tweeted it and tweeted the incorrect, I think, information, they never issue a correction or something like that. Not that Twitter even gives a shit about corrections, but yeah, it's just U.S. men's national team Twitter. It's just not a fun place at the moment. Long story short. And quickly, one more thing that we possibly could complain about that I actually think is a legitimate gripe. So we announced that we have some friendlies in September that were just scheduled. So we're going to play Uzbekistan in St. Louis and Oman in Minneapolis. These again are in September. And a lot of people on Twitter were kind of disappointed by the level of competition. These are teams that are, somewhere in like the 70s in terms of FIFA ranking, which isn't everything, but it's usually indicative of sort of whereabouts they are in the world. And I know that it's difficult to schedule friendlies. It's really difficult. Like a lot of federations have tournaments, and there's a lot of just sort of requirements and things that teams have to do. So, and like they couldn't just like travel across the world just to go to like a friendly in the US. So I know that there's a lot of things that we don't understand about sort of who's available and all this, but I also saw a lot of Twitter, again, tweets about there's a lot of like better Asian teams that apparently don't have games scheduled and everything. So I was just get your guys' thoughts, because I thought this was kind of a legitimate that people had on the internet about the scheduling of friendlies. What do you guys think about Uzbekistan and Oman? Is this a legitimate gripe, or what do you think?
I think it's what friendlies are for. I can understand wanting to search for better competition, but most of Europe is playing like qualifying games during that September window. Uzbekistan and Oman, what would you say? They're mid 70s. That's higher than Trinidad and Tobago and Guatemala and St. Kitts and Nevis and a hell of a lot of CONCACAF teams. It's a new look. It's going to be, I don't know what those rosters are going to be comprised of, but I'm assuming they're going to be mostly this current Gold Cup team that we're looking at, MLS guys. We don't have to travel for them. Uzbekistan and Oman have to travel here. We'll keep the guys stateside. I wouldn't read too much into it. I think they're two friendlies during an international window when it was hard to find somebody to play. You can say you could find better competition, and I suppose that's true, but I don't feel too strongly about this.
Yeah, I think basically everything right now is just being used as,
yeah, there's nothing else on. There's no like right. People can't get mad about anything else, so you got to direct those emotions somewhere.
Yeah, and a lot of and every team other than like Man City, didn't win shit this year, so we all got a lot of built up angst. I'm talking like 3 Tweedles right now, and a permanently winningless Tottenham fan here. So like, yeah, I get it. All right, let's move on from the negativity and everything. Let's move on to some positive vibes, which I don't even know if that's what this is going to be, but we're going to move to weekly what if. How much money would it have to be for you to sign a 3-year contract to do exactly what you're doing now, but do it in Saudi Arabia? Like
tweeting bullshit.
Maybe let's have Tommy do it, because he's actually a soccer player.
Yeah, like
$5.
No, not much, but a little bit more than that. Basically, it's a good question. Are you talking like, are we going per week, per month, over the 3 years total?
For you, you can
salary?
You can just say relative to what you make now, what it would take above and beyond that.
Okay.
Because I don't want to put, finger, I don't want you to have to say what you make.
I would say it's probably a similar ratio to what guys are leaving from England to go there, which is like at least 5 times more.
Okay, that's a fair amount. I mean, it's 3 years, so it's not nothing.
Yeah, if it was like 18 months or something, I'm sure that goes down a little bit,
because there's the experience of it, and I don't
think
the
experience would be cool too,
right? I mean, it'd just be a completely different experience. Mitch, what would you say on this one? Overtime FC in Saudi.
He's set the benchmark at 5x, so now I look like a dick if I lowball him. No, I don't. I don't think I would go. I don't think I would go over there for 5. I'm just kind of gonna use the same metrics and say how many times my salary. I think they would have to 10x my salary for me to get over there and do it for 3 years. You're saying it's not just a long vacation. I'm living there for 3 years and doing it.
Yep.
Yep, 10x.
I was doing it off the Messi contract offer. Right? I think it was like 3 years. 10x. Okay. Now we're really talking. I mean, listen, it's monopoly money. What do they care? Mikey, how high are you going?
I mean, being here in New York City, I'd probably take any amount of money to go to Charlotte or anything that doesn't have the state income tax and the city tax. So first, let me know how much I'm going to owe in taxes on my salary in Saudi Arabia. Second of all, I'd probably say I have a second question. I saw the plane and the amenities posted from, I think it was Igalo.
Igalo story, yeah.
Oh my God. So can what I normally do for work involve being in one of those is my second question. And third, probably anywhere from 3 to 4 times, that's probably all it would take with those two things being yes. So I'm a little bit of a cheaper date.
I will say it's funny though, like I was thinking of this. You don't want to lowball Saudi Arabia because, like, let's say you're like, oh, I need 15 times what I currently make. They might just go, okay.
That's it.
You would have been happy with 5x.
Yeah, they definitely have to speak first.
Yeah,
yes.
this is not like an actual negotiation here. Like we're not. I understand where you're coming from on that, Tommy, but I'm wondering where you'd actually end up and actually would take it.
Oh, it wouldn't take much to break me.
I was gonna say I'm probably cheaper than you. Well, than Mitch at least.
Sam's gonna be like 3 fucking years away from everybody. That would rock.
Yeah, there's some pushes and pulls here that you guys don't have. Specifically a wife and 2 kids.
That we know about.
That I know about. Yeah, I don't know how many X it would have to be. It would have to be a lot. They would have to negotiate with the boss lady. I wouldn't even be involved. I wouldn't even be in the room.
She's going to tell you one day that you're going to Saudi Arabia.
Sam's Army.
Gonna tweet it and we're going to be like, the fuck?
Sam's going to be like, what the fuck?
Sam's Army Riyadh. Oh God, it would have to be. Yeah, I'm going to guess 5x. It's probably about right. 10x. That's
maybe she'll even up your allowance.
I just make less money than you guys, so 10x is,
Listen, my weekly allowance wouldn't change at all, but just to make her happy. All right, let's go to headlines. Big one, big headline. 2025, the FIFA Club World Cup is coming to the United States in 2025. This is an expanded Club World Cup. I think it's 32 clubs is going to play in this bad boy. So that, that's up from something like 7. So this has been Gianni Infantino's sort of not brainchild, but sort of his baby. He's been talking about expanding this for a while, for years. I was like, listen, you look like a penis. Fuck you. This is a money grab. Now, the fact he just said, you know what, we're going to play it in the US. I'm like, fuck, you got me, Gianni. I'm in. I'm looking forward to it. I was like, this is just a money grab. I'm not about this at all. And just like that, I'm so easy. We're talking about Mikey's a cheap date and how easy it is to get him over to Saudi Arabia. Like, I just flipped my mind on the Club World Cup and expansion just based on it being in the US. Now I'm like, yeah, I'm down with this, which is just sad on my part. But what it leads to is, I mean, basically the United States of America is the capital of world soccer for the next decade and maybe more. So we got Messi coming in 2023. And the Women's World Cup's down under. So we got Messi in 2023. I'm forgetting 2024 is Copa America. 2025 is, Club World Cup. 2026, obviously the World Cup. 2027 is the Women's World Cup, I believe. And then 2028 is the Olympics. Do I have that right? Or did I? Yeah. So the Olympics is going to be in Los Angeles in 2028. And the U.S. women, the U.S. Not U.S., but the Women's World Cup is not officially going to be in the U.S. in 2027. But I do think that we were the odds-on favorite at the moment. So yeah, I mean, like U.S. is this. This is like we're on the precipice of just this, 5-year period that is going to completely change the way that people think about soccer around here. And it starts with Messi. Like it really does start with Messi coming here and the amount of attention he's going to get, and the notoriety and the media coverage. Like that is going to be bigger than I think even people who really know what's going on. I think it's going to be bigger than they think. And that is just going to be like a tidal wave for the next 5-6 years. It's going to be amazing.
I said this the other day on the pod, but you may not realize it now, but that Messi to Miami move is going to be one of those like where were you moments, because it's going to signify a cultural shift in American sports. We're going to blow baseball out of the water. Everybody's going to forget baseball was America's pastime in 5 years. People aren't even going to go to the games anymore. I love hockey, but we have surpassed hockey as like a fandom. Maybe not MLS in particular, but as a sport, we've surpassed hockey, and we're going to start to rival like basketball in 5 years' time. It's going to be a massive, massive cultural shift.
That's a big statement.
I have a God damn it! Why did you say this? This could go on a lot longer now. I have a hot take that it's not going to be basketball. Like I think basketball markets itself very well, and that they're becoming more international as we are, but it's more so American football as that sport keeps getting more dangerous.
So I would be way more.
And here in the U.S., it's in the same season, so people are going to start at a younger age choosing soccer over football.
I would be way more inclined to say that we're going to surpass American football if there weren't already like the cultish following that we have as football fans in American football. And like the South is a whole different beast. You will quickly find that out if you haven't already. But like their love for college football down there is the closest thing that mirrors people's love for like Premier League teams over abroad. And not to say that we can't dethrone American football, but that is a religion in this country. But I don't think the product has evolved all that much in the past, 2 decades, whereas basketball, the product has evolved and the game's gotten way more global. So it's not too hot a take. I really see where you're coming from there.
Yeah. I don't know if football's gotten more dangerous so much as we've sort of just recognized and acknowledged that it's,
given a name to CTE and, kind of, we gotta stop playing on turf. It's fucking people up. But a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah, well, I agree. I'm a huge baseball fan. I've played it growing up and everything. So like I don't really like to shit on it, even though I do think that soccer is going to surpass it. I just think that we're maybe hockey too. I love hockey too. I love all sports. All right, we'll move on. June 28th, there is I feel like people don't really know about this, but there's a meeting. UEFA is holding a meeting of their executive committee on Wednesday of this week. And so they're going to talk about a lot of things, just sort of like where the finals of the Conference League and Europa Leagues are going to be for the next few years and all this stuff. But tucked in among the different things they're going to be talking about is amendments to the UEFA Club licensing and financial sustainability regulations. And this is like number 5 or 6 on the bullet points of what they're talking about. But in my mind, this could be huge. Like, because I think that what they're going to be talking about is perhaps ways to change the rules in terms of like financial fair play, in terms of like what's allowed from a promotion and marketing standpoint, and the way that City have bent the rules over the years, and Newcastle probably are preparing to, based on Toney and probably more of the guys that are coming. Like the clubs, and Chelsea, again, this is not just like a Middle Eastern thing. Like it seems like Chelsea might be up to some I would say dastardly tricks as a Tottenham fan, but I'm sure Chelsea fans probably feel like, listen, we're just working within the rules. But point being, UEFA they have a meeting on Wednesday, and there could be some headlines that come out of that. in terms of the way that, the bean counters, the effects they have and the impact they have on the league and balance of power and so on and so forth. So just something to keep an eye on. Last headline: Peter Drury was announced as, he's going to take over from Martin Tyler as the lead commentator of the Premier League for Sky. I think he's still going to keep doing a lot, if not most of his, responsibilities with NBC. Sky and NBC have that sort of collaboration where they play, they work together. So I assume that we're not going to lose Peter Drury for the Premier League. I certainly hope not. His poetic elegance is it's grown on me. It's grown on me greatly, and I know that it makes Tyler Terrence cry sometimes. So that would be sad if we lost that. But congrats to Peter Drury, and maybe that's opening up a slot for said Tyler Terrence with the Premier League. And I'm just throwing it out there, just asking questions. Now, quickly, we will finish up. First round the world and then stoppage time. So round the world, the U.S. women announced their women's national team roster for the World Cup that starts relatively soon here. I know that people, there's a lot of fans out there that women's soccer, or I'm just not paying attention to it until it gets down to the World Cup. But let's be honest, when the World Cup rolls around, you're going to be watching and you're going to be rooting for America. So maybe, just maybe, tune in, start to pay a little more attention starting right about now. And so the 23 woman team is out roster for the World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. It's an interesting mix of, not old, but experienced players and a fair amount of youth. I know that there were 14 first timers on the team, which is kind of a lot. And 3 players this will be their 4th World Cup, which is kind of crazy. Alex Morgan, Kelly O'Hara, and Megan Rapinoe. I know that Rapinoe specifically was kind of controversial because she hasn't really been playing that much in the lead up to the tournament, and so her presence knocks players like Ashley Hatch was one that I saw like basically consensus pick among people who thought like she was kind of robbed of being at this tournament. The one thing I will say about Rapinoe though is like she's a big game player, and if you need somebody to hit a penalty, like she'll do it. So there's reasons to have her there. But shout out to all the women who made it. Alyssa Thompson, who should be graduating high school right about now, is on the team, which is crazy. I said on Instagram, somebody from a group of 3 I had picked out: Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, and Lynn Williams. Somebody from that group is going to come back like a global superstar, kind of like on the Alex Morgan level of fame. And lastly, it was weird to see this roster and see no Tobin Heath and Kristen Press, just from it's weird to see like a roster without them on it. Any comments from the Peanut Gallery on any of that?
No, echo the Ashley Hatch.
Yeah,
no, that was tough, but I agree that I think out of those 3 that you mentioned, I think Trinity Rodman is the one that's going to come back. Like, people know her now. She's the highest paid player in the NWSL. She's a media superstar, but she is going to have a jump to another level of stardom after this World Cup.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. I mean, she has a running start with the last name and everything, but like when you then see her play,
she's never really owned that or leveraged it though.
No, it's the media. It's the media that leverages it, not her.
At the beginning, it definitely was. People knew her as Trinity Rodman, Dennis's daughter, but now she really has built her own personality. She's made a name for herself on and off the field. And I think she is the Rodman right now.
Yeah, I think that's true. All right. Lastly, on Round the World, Sergio Busquets, a rather poorly held secret that he seemed to be heading towards Miami. He is heading towards Miami. He'll be there with Messi. I put up a Instagram vote to see what people thought of the signing of Busquets. I'll pull up the final results here real quick. But before I do, What do you got, Tommy? What do you think about Busquets? Do you think he's still going to be a productive player in MLS?
So, I'm very biased on this. I play the same position. He's one of my favorite players.
Okay.
So I'm probably one of the few people in this country who is as excited or more excited to watch Busquets in MLS than Messi in MLS. I feel like that's also probably not the right take for the football universe, but that's just my personal take.
That's a level of soccer nerddom that, like, I think
Yeah, like
most people.
I can't say that I'm not excited to see Messi. I'm like super excited to see him play in MLS, but I'm also very, very excited to watch Busquets. So yeah, I want to see him do well, and I think he will, but I think there's going to need to be a couple more guys that are going to be on the same wavelength as them.
Yeah.
Because when I was at FC Cincinnati, we had a lot of Dutch guys that saw the game very similar at like the root level to Barca. And when you don't have a bunch of guys that are on that same page, it can fall apart, and they can struggle. So I'm curious to see how that works out with him specifically.
Okay. Unbiased opinion. He'll do well.
Yeah, completely unbiased opinion.
Tommy McCabe. Mikey, what do you think?
I've always thought he was coming over with him as well. Deep lying playmakers seem to do pretty well for the first 1 or 2 years in MLS. So we'll see our moments from him. I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Played in a Barcelona team that has more or less been shaped around him, or the play, like his play style has shaped the Barcelona team and vice versa for almost his entire career. So it'll be interesting to see what he looks like in something that isn't Barcelona football. Like Tommy was saying, it is a different game. And he's a world-class footballer and has been, so I'm not going to say that he's not going to adapt, but his play style is slower than most, to be nice. And MLS is a bit more hectic, so it'll be fun. I love Busquets.
So I found the Instagram, vote that I threw up. It was 45% think he's going to be a great signing and will still be productive. 36% said meh, only makes sense if it helped bring Messi over, and 19% said legendary player, terrible signing. So I guess we'll see. That will be interesting. All right, stoppage time now. Let's round out the program with Ivan Toney's best bets, of course. And I'm happy to say the Overtrain, another week, another dub from the Sam's Army Overtrain. Pachuca Tigres, we got a 2-1 game, over 2.5 cashed. Your boy got a top shelf drink. Hopefully you guys followed me on that one. And who's going to be the first one to lead us out on best bets this week? All right, let's go to Mr. Tomstradamus. Or Nostradamus, depending on.
That's actually funny you bring that one up again, because that's kind of the train I'm going down, and this is just out of left field. Literally nothing scientific about it. Canada, Guadalupe over, Guatemala, Cuba under, with a total of 5 goals in both games combined.
Where in the world did you come up with that?
I had the first part because they played on the same day, and then I was like, you know what, screw it. Let me throw in the other bit just to be an idiot.
You gotta get right. You want to channel that the
Yeah, I want to channel it. I only bring it out for CONCACAF events. I'll do that.
Okay. All right. I like it. You got Mikey, you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm trying to put something with this. I like Netherlands U21 over Georgia tomorrow. They're minus 161. And the over in Belgium, Portugal at 2.5. Put that as minus 135, 134. You put those together, and you get something nice and pretty. I'll figure out the number right now. But I've been liking the U21 games during the day. There's some pretty good names in those games.
Some
here.
really good names for Netherlands.
I know, good players, honestly. And then Luisa Penda plays for Belgium, who I really like. Yeah, you're getting plus 190 on those two combined. So yeah, pretty fun.
I knew you'd go somewhere deep in the bag of tricks for
fun
that one. Mitch, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'll stay Gold Cup. Two money lines. I like Mexico money line against Haiti and Honduras money line against Qatar. Honduras is plus 160. They're both plus money line for Qatar and Honduras, but Honduras is plus 160, slightly favored. I watched Qatar play. What have they played in their most recent friendly? Not good. Not a good side. And I don't think they can hold their own in CONCACAF. CONCACAF football, which is what Honduras plays to a T, is that's their wheelhouse, and I don't think Qatar can come in and perform. And then Mexico over Haiti is self-explanatory. Plus 250.
That's fair. Yeah, when you think of like who is the most CONCACAF team in CONCACAF, I think Honduras might checks a lot of the boxes, if not all the boxes.
Yep.
I'm gonna stick with over. Obviously, I'm addicted to the overs. I'm going Atlanta and Philadelphia on Sunday in MLS. That game absolutely has goals in it. I don't know who exactly is going to be on the injury table for the two teams at this point, but I still think that both of them can score. Atlanta specifically seems to give up a lot of goals, so I just think there's going to be a lot of goals in that one. So that is my over lock of the week. If you want to get real silly with it, then we could go with in Norway, where Brann is hosting HamKam. And HamKam is a team that HamKam is just what they're known on FOTMob, but in like the real world, their name is like very, very long and very, very Norwegian. I don't even know what it is, but they give up goals left and right. And they were scoring a lot of goals earlier in the season. They seem to have cooled off lately, but Brann is just a beast. So if maybe I'll put those two together if you're feeling a little extra spicy, because I think both games are on Sunday. So Brann hosting HamKam, that's in the Norwegian top league, and my absolute best bet is Atlanta hosting Philly in MLS on Sunday. Which that goal, I might even bump that up to 3.5, and I still feel confident about that. So there's our best bets. Now we'll finish up with everybody's favorite segment, GOAWs. All right. I like to look in your guys' eyes.
I have one locked and loaded here.
I have a great one too.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Tommy said it first, so Tommy gets to go with it.
I'm going with Alyssa Thompson and Michelle Cooper because that video, I have had hot shot. It is fucking disgusting.
Gross.
And it shocks you. So it's like I absolutely knew that feeling that they had. And that made me laugh. And yeah, I don't think a lot of people have had hot shot. I would give it a try just to empathize with the feelings that they had.
I got so much feedback from like athletes and like professional players on that video, probably more on that video than I have on like anything I've ever posted. And everybody was like, yeah, that shit sucks. but most of them said it works. But most of them also said it works.
It works really, really well.
So add that sort of caveat in there. It sucks, but it also does what they say it does, which is it's basically a concoction of ginger, cinnamon, and capsaicin, which is chili powder, and I mean it just sounds like it's a shock to your system. And
it's like put every like powder and juice that is like in immunity drinks and just throw it in one. Take it.
I mean,
so gross.
I might have to try it just to see what it's like. And I've never felt more out of the loop from like an athlete perspective than when everybody's like, yeah, it's like people have been doing this for years and years. I'm like, I've never even heard of it, and I'm just so far out of the loop. And yeah, I guess I'm just fucking typing and making MS memes or Microsoft Paint memes all day. So I guess this makes a lot of sense. But yeah, never felt so out of the loop. And everybody being like, yeah, man, you've never even heard of this. What kind of nerd are you? Mikey, what do you got for GOAWs?
I am officially never going to slander Fabrizio Romano on Twitter again. If you're out of the loop, the reason is on June 21st, which predates my last appearance on Sam's Army podcast, he posted that Tottenham have reached an agreement on personal terms with the goalkeeper Vicario, and the picture he used is Vicario staring the ball right into the back of the net. An unbelievable image of him being beaten. I have since they have to seek that picture out. It's very difficult to find. So I am, for one, always been aware Fabrizio's a gooner, and now it's more than confirmed. So he's on the Chelsea payroll, but he's got Arsenal in his heart.
You said you lowballed the amount that it'd take you to get to Saudi Arabia, and the amount that it took to just like become like a complete Fabrizio fanboy was like even lower than that.
Way
So,
less.
You're easily bought is basically
for sure.
The lesson that we've learned from episode 2.218 of Sam's Army. All right, Mitchell, what do you got for us?
Tommy took my funny one, which was hot shot. That shit's gross. But my good wholesome one is the man in the mirror, Captain America, Christian Pulisic. I got the chance. I met him for the first time ever. I posted a hell of a lot of videos about this guy, covered him for quite some time. Met him for the first time ever down in Miami this past week. And the dude is just a damn delight. He is despite being in the hot Miami sun, doing interview after media appearance, all while unveiling his new like community stomping grounds, which serves underserved communities with soccer balls and field access. He was all smiles, he was jokes, he was well media trained, and just like had an aura about him that you only hear about on Twitter. So Captain America, hell of a guy, and been rooting for him forever. But man, it was just really cool to meet him and shake his hand and do some videos with him. So Christian Pulisic, I know you're listening. See you next time.
What is his thoughts on the danglies?
I did not bring up the danglies. I was promised 15 minutes with him, and anybody in media knows that means 5 minutes. There was no natural point in conversation for me to bring up you and your dangling balls on Twitter. So I'll bring it up next time.
Next time. All right, that's fair. He seems like he's been trained for media for so long at this point that it's probably like second nature to him.
Yeah, but it was the way he interacted with people was not shielded and reserved. It was very open. He's soft spoken, but he's confident in it. Watching him interact with like the kids, he was playing chess with the kids and kicking a ball around with them and everything. The guy really just loves the game. And nobody loves the media stuff, but he did it all with a smile and gave like really thought out, genuine answers. And there's nothing as a member of the media that I appreciate more than that. There's nothing that's worse than 1 or 2 word answers. So when he's, feeding lines and interacting and there's a little repartee, it just makes it all the more easier and to be a fan of the guy. So he's good shit.
I like that. My GOAWs, I'll give a couple honorable mentions out. Number 1, Ashley Hatch for being left. That's got to be just a real, I would say kick in the dick, but just a real sort of tough, a tough blow. The difference between making the World Cup and not making the World Cup, especially on the women's side, is so gigantic. And her, career trajectory obviously is, up. But that's got to be a real shot. So hopefully she'll take the Ricardo Pepi route and use it to motivate her for the next time. Also, Gareth Bale, I'll give him an honorable mention for accidentally, poking the bear or kicking the hornet's nest that is, MLS fans when he said that, MLS is it's very chill and people, it's not life or death like Real Madrid, which, I get where he's coming from. And to a certain extent, that's fair. We don't have pro rel over here, so it makes sense. But at the same time, he's in LA and he's probably not talking about playoff games. But anyway, whatever. He didn't mean to poke the bear, but he certainly did with those comments. Also, honorable mention, Matthew Jebediah Turner. It was his birthday, and he was the captain for the game against Jamaica, and he stopped a penalty. Great game. He and just sort of from a bigger picture sense, like the fact that he has gone from, when he first came on the podcast, and I don't even know if he was the starter with the Revolution at that point, and now he is the locked on GK1 for the U.S. men's national team. What a career so far, and what a guy, nice guy. And finally, my actual goer though, Jaime Lozano, who a couple weeks ago was playing with Team Dempsey at TST 7v7. And as of, I think, yesterday or the day before, he's coaching El Triste. Like, talk about life comes at you fast. So congrats to him. I never thought there'd be like a reason for me to root for El Triste, and I certainly won't. But I'm sure I think guys on the team, were talking to him, and everybody knew everybody at the tournament. I knew sort of a few people, but they were, he seemed like a nice guy, and now he's coaching El Triste. So from a person to person sense, I wish him luck. If he could somehow succeed with El Triste losing every single game, that would be great. I don't know if that's possible, but let's work on that. And with that, we will call it an episode. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Mikey. You guys are the best. Thank you, everybody who is listening. Let's go get these wins against St. Kitts and Nevis, and then Trinidad and Tobago. And you know what? Then we'll all be in a much better mood. And I'm sure Twitter will just be a lot of happy tweets and butterflies and rainbows about how good U.S. men's national team. Can't wait. See you guys next week.